Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to another edition of Comet Corner. Today we have with us for the first time this year, Coach Berry, our head baseball coach, and going to talk a little baseball. So Coach, I appreciate you taking the time and starting to warm up out there. It means it's baseball season.
Yes, it is. We're excited. Things are rolling. Spring is on the way and we're getting opportunities to play, so that's all we ask for.
Absolutely. And Coach, you before we get into the spring, which you guys have already had some games, you had some games this fall and got a lot of practice in and had some good results this past fall. Not always the case in your tenure here where you play fall ball and spring ball. How is that? What are your thoughts on playing in both seasons, and how does that help or hurt the program?
I think from a traditional standpoint, for someone who's more orthodox, it doesn't make sense to play in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
But spring baseball in the upper Midwest is a very touchy proposition, and for us to be able to get ball games, countable games in the fall, to
mm-hmm.
us, we find is a terrific advantage.
Mm-hmm.
There's a variety of different reasons that I could spend a half hour talking about it, why it's important. The first thing that has to happen is the NAI has not had starting dates. We have our 24-week rule, but the starting dates was not defined.
Mm-hmm.
So a number of years ago, Coach Olney from Valley City State and myself, we approached the National Convention, and at our business meeting we discussed all the reasons why we thought it was important to be able to have this opportunity. And we must have done a convincing enough job because nearly unanimously we were approved to be able to start fall baseball. We would prefer to play all of our games in the spring for continuity purposes, for being able to train your squad and to prepare them the proper way. But if it comes down to not getting to play in the spring or getting some countable games in the fall, which are included in your total record,
mm-hmm.
which helps out for national ratings purposes and whatnot, we thought it was a no-brainer. We were very excited to do it, and even though we have split seasons, there are so many advantages for us to be able to play that spring ball. So we're happy to do it, and thus we got out to a good start, and we're happy about that as well.
Absolutely, Coach. You did get out to a good start in the fall, and like I said, you've been able to play some games this spring. Been in some very tough games that have kind of gone down to the wire. Had a big win to wrap up the series with Doane this past weekend, and we're able to sweep Morningside. So us currently sitting at 7-3. Tell us a little bit about where you think the guys are. Obviously a long season, so to speak, but where do you think the guys are, and who's impressed you early?
Well, that's a great question. For us, when we talk about split seasons, one of the drawbacks, but we have to start our season anyway, but one of the drawbacks is it's so difficult when you don't get the opportunity to perform outdoors and to start playing games. So that's always a bit of a shaky proposition. It's just hard. Hitting indoors, you can prepare yourself as well as you can. My assistant coaches have done a terrific job, but nothing can simulate a game like a game, and you can do whatever you can indoors, but getting outdoors and getting into larger facilities to play is really important. And the thing that we've seen impacted the most is our offense.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at our scores this spring, we've played 7 games, and 6 of them have been low scoring and tight ball games.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just had a tough time getting going. Our pitching, and most teams' pitching, is ahead of their hitting. Once we start getting going, we'll find out our true colors regarding our offense, but that's been the slow part for us. We had the one tough game on Saturday whereby we gave up a bunch of runs, but other than that, Sunday we did 2, but we really did a pretty good job of pitching. It wasn't a case of our pitching falling apart. They did a very good job of hitting, and we had a couple of errors that compounded things, but everything for us has been pretty low scoring, and we got to get our offense going. That's a long answer to a short question,
No, it's
but
good.
now on top of that, you've asked about kids that have done well, and our pitching staff by and large has done a nice job.
Good.
We have a bunch of returning kids who I think they would share with you that they underperformed last year. We're still growing, we're still maturing. We think they have quality arms. We think they have the ability to be good, but it just hasn't been that way for the past 2 years. I think we've made some improvements in that respect. I think the kids have done a much better job, and we're still growing. So I would like to believe that we're getting better on the mound, and that's critical for the game of baseball. Defensively, we've done a real nice job, but we're going to find out more about ourselves once we get on natural grass surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
We've been playing on turf. 5 of the games that we played this spring, so the turf is bound to give you better hops and more consistent hops, and our true defense is going to be told here when we start getting on the natural grass surfaces. So
Yeah.
That's what's happening there. For us, again, offensively, we just really haven't had anybody other than Mike Thiessen, our center fielder, has been very good. We've had bright spots all through our lineup, but just not on a consistent basis. And again, we won't jump to any conclusions on that quite yet. I'm hoping in a month from now when we talk again that we won't be talking about a tough, bad offense. Right now we're just not very good, and we're just having to find ways to fight and survive, and we've been doing a pretty good job of that, which is a nice sign too.
Yep.
Pitching-wise, again, we've started 4 kids. We've started Josh Rodriguez, who did a nice job for us last year, and we think there's even better things awaiting him. His first couple outings this spring were a little bit tough, but he really competed well against Doan. Connor De Niro is back from injury, and he's helping us out on the mound, left-handed arm who has experience. We've also had Parker Storr came back from injury, and he's been doing a very, very nice job. I think he's got a couple of wins, and then he had a loss the other day, and that was a 2-1 loss. So he pitched exceptionally well over the past 3 outings for himself. And then we've kind of spread things around regarding that 4th start, and we've got a couple other seniors, Kenny Stewart, Tate Ludwig, Matt Johnston, who's a sophomore. They've all logged a bunch of innings as well, and then we use out of the bullpen. To close games out, we use Quentin Bedon, and Quentin's very steady for us and really pitched well against Doan to save that game. So
Good.
We're hoping, we're believing that we're making advancements with our pitching staff, and we believe that they can do a very good job. But as we tell the kids, talk is one thing, and going out between the white lines and performing is another, and,
Right.
and we just haven't proven that yet, and that's our mission, to go out and do a more consistent job and do things that are more capable of our capabilities.
Coach, you mentioned a lot about consistency, right? Whether it's on the mound, defensively, at the plate. Is it fair to say that's really this early in the season what you look for? Just develop some consistency. Whether, like I said, at the plate or in the field or on the mound.
Yes, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
For me, I've had enough experiences that although I don't like it, coming out slow is not unusual.
Right.
So for me, it's fighting that urge to really jump to conclusions, because it's easy to do that. You work really hard to prepare them, and then to not see people perform well can wear you out as a coach, and it wears the kids out because they want to perform, and,
Right.
and they want to do a great job. So this isn't an issue of effort, but it's probably a whole lot more about timing, rhythm, and the mentality that they take into it. And we really push all those categories. We're understanding about the timing and rhythm thing, and we work on those issues as we move along. But the mentality, it's that failure at the beginning of the year because you don't have good rhythm and timing, because you don't see the ball as well, and those things can wear a person out as a performer very easily. It'd be like a guy shooting a basketball, and they're known as a great shooter, and they come out at the beginning of the year, and in the first 5 games they're just not shooting it well. Well,
Right.
if you don't have the type of resiliency and the type of fight in you to be able to get through it, that could end up being a problem for the entire year.
Right.
So for us as coaches, we really have to watch ourselves and how much pushing do you do, and how much coaxing do you do as well.
Right.
So you have to be, on one hand, you got to really push and teach kids to be able to fight. On the other hand, you got to be understanding and help them to understand the importance of persistence and resiliency.
Right. Right. And Coach, right now sitting at 7-3, right? It's early in the season, but a good record to get going. Can you tell us a little bit about? I know you guys are going to hit the road here shortly for quite a while, right? With a lot of games in between Nebraska and Arizona. Can you tell us a little bit about that trip and what you look to get out of that trip? You guys are going to be playing a lot of games.
Yes, we are, and against good competition. On our Arizona trip, we'll be doing Concordia out of Nebraska, and my understanding is they're an outstanding team, and they're going to be extremely competitive, and I think we have 4 games against them down there.
Okay.
Southwest State from Minnesota, actually going to run into Waldorf down there, and some other teams that I don't pop into my mind right now, but they're all going to be competitive, some more competitive than others.
But you're in Nebraska this weekend even before you get there.
We have Hastings, and I'm not familiar with what their record is right now,
Okay.
but they've had a good history, and we expect them to be competitive. Again, this is a case where sometimes if you could play them in late April instead of early March, it makes a world of difference.
Right.
And I've always had to prepare my teams with the understanding that coming out of the blocks, you may believe that you should be able to beat a certain team, and you're just not ready to do so.
Right.
And when you play teams that have been outside, that have enjoyed competitive experiences outdoors when you have not, it puts you behind the 8 ball, and
Right.
it does make it more difficult. So you have to really keep things in perspective, and you've got to be able to look at your squad and say, what is it that I think we can be at the end of the year?
Right.
And I'm never one to not want to compete. I'm never one to make any excuses for it. But in all fairness to our coaching staff and specifically our players, it's not an equal playing field.
Right.
When you're going up against the Doans and the Hastings that have been outside for a number of weeks, have been able to compete outdoors for a number of weeks, it's advantageous. It just is. And again, we're not looking for excuses regarding it, but I think it's important for people to understand it just is not an easy thing to do, to jump outside and do that.
Right.
So we have to work through that, and probably more importantly, not lose our perspective.
Right.
And I mentioned that earlier, but it's important for us to help the kids understand, here's how you get through it.
Right.
We have people who are experienced, and if you listen to us, if you believe in us, if you trust us and what we're telling you, if you got the mental toughness to be able to handle it, you're going to have some disappointments early, but we believe if we just keep our nose to the grindstone and keep doing what we do and do things the right way and believe in ourselves and believe in our teammates, we can get this to come around and work to our advantage.
Coach, I'm going to take a little bit of a different turn. You go to Nebraska this weekend. From Nebraska, you go to Arizona, and then probably back to Nebraska to open conference play up with Bellevue.
With home games.
With home games in Nebraska. That's not an error. With that said, how much, early on in the season, how much does it matter off the field for those guys to bond and really, develop some chemistry just, kind of off the field as it is to perform as well on the field? Knowing that road trip, you're 2 weeks, right? 2-week road trip with these guys going, no pun intended, going to bat for each other, getting after it. How important is that for the team moving forward from a team chemistry standpoint off the diamond?
Tremendously important. It's a big part of what we do, and we sell that with the kids, and we also expect that this is going to be a big part of your growth as a team. It's our belief that our strength is our team, our family. It really is. And for us to line up against the best teams in the country and to get into a talent game just isn't going to work. We have to beat them with so many intangibles that we have to promote those things. It's unrealistic for us to think that we're going to go run faster, throw harder, and hit it further than a lot of the teams that are in that top 25.
Right.
But we've spent a lot of time in the top 25 because we've been able to understand that if we do the things that we need to do as a team, as a family, we can overcome a lot.
Right.
And so that's our mission. What is it that we need to do to be successful? That's our constant mantra with the kids. What is it that we need to do to be successful? Because if I take their team and our team and we line them up, and if we're honest with each other, there's a good chance that they're more talented than we are.
Right.
But then it goes to show the importance of team.
Right.
If we do this, if we do this, and if we do that, we are in a great position to succeed. And that's, again, what we sell. That's our belief, and it's not just it's not a talking point, it's reality. And it's worked for us, and we believe that that's the route we need to take, and we're going to press forward with that.
Well, Coach, wish you all the best this March. It's Road Warriors for the month of March, and you're all over the map, and that's not an embellishment. So, good luck to you guys, and hopefully get some wins and develop that consistency and that chemistry that you talk about. Coach, I got one more question for you. When you guys, when I'm at a CAC social or another game or whatever, especially as the season approaches, a couple people say to me, I'm going to get down to Tucson. I can't wait to go watch baseball or softball, and they're excited. How good does it feel to have some local Mayville Blue supporting you when you take that trip out to Arizona?
It's fabulous. It's so enjoyable to see friends and people you went to school with, stop on down, taking the time, because most of the people are in the Phoenix metro area.
Right.
It's when we were in Phoenix playing here years ago, we would have sizable crowds at our game. It's a little different story in Tucson. It's about an hour and a half away, and it makes it a little tougher for people to make those arrangements, but there usually isn't a day that goes by where we don't have some Mayville connection or Mayville State University connection, and it's a wonderful feeling, and we really appreciate it. And if you have a chance to stop on out, please do, and please make sure to come up and say hi and let us know that you're around, because we really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, good luck, and is there anything else you want to tell Mayville State, Comet Nation, that anything else going on in baseball, or any final words?
Well, baseball-wise, we're just really excited to get going, but we're really excited about what's happening within the department and the men's and women's basketball teams advancing to the national tournament. And anybody who truly knows about Mayville State knows that we are underdogs, and people might get sick of us saying things like that, but and you hear it all the time, but it's unquestionable. We have to climb higher mountains than most people. We have bigger hurdles to jump over, and we've got a coaching staff that is relentless. They're outstanding. They do a terrific job. We're very fortunate to have the administration and the coaches that we have here within our department. They do a fantastic job, and as you see, we've had success up and down the ranks. Football is going through some transitioning things, but volleyball had a great year. The basketball teams were phenomenal. Our softball program is doing great and on solid ground, and it's so exciting for those in the in Comet Nation. So we're just excited about all of it, and despite the roadblocks that we have to go up against, we still have a lot of great people who are coaches that are doing what they're doing, and of course it's all about the players. You got to have players that buy in, players that are talented, and they just believe in what it is that we're selling, and they just embrace what's going on here and do the best they can for the Comets.
Yep. Well, Coach, again, thank you for coming on. I know you're busy and you guys are rocking and rolling on all cylinders now, and safe travels as you get going on quite a road trip starting this weekend.
Thank you very much.